The emergence. Captain Maya Chen stared at the tactical display, watching as another human cruiser vanished in a blaze of light. The Craxian fleet continued its relentless advance, their crystalline ships gleaming against the backdrop of stars. 10 years of war, and humanity was losing, badly. Shields at 32%, Captain, reported Lieutenant Kovic, his voice steady despite the chaos around them. Their vessel, the UES Defiant, shuddered as another energy blast grazed its hull. Maya gripped the armrests of her command chair, knuckles white. The Defiant wasn't a battleship, it was a fast attack vessel, designed for hit-and-run tactics. But there was nowhere to run anymore. Jupiter's orbital platforms, humanity's last major defensive position in the solar system, were falling one by one. Status on the fleet, Maya demanded, eyes fixed on the holographic battle map. Admiral Thorne's flagship is heavily damaged, Communications Officer Park responded. Most of our capital ships are either disabled or destroyed. The Craxians are pressing toward Earth, Captain. ETA 4 hours. 4 hours until the end of everything. Maya closed her eyes briefly, allowing herself one moment of despair before forcing it away. The Craxians had appeared in human space without warning 7 years ago, their technology centuries beyond anything humanity possessed. They communicated only once. Your resources are required. Resistance is inefficient. Then they began systematically destroying human colonies, harvesting asteroids, and converting entire moons into raw materials. Billions dead. And now they were coming for Earth. Captain, Kovic's voice cut through her thoughts. We're receiving a priority transmission from Terra Command. It's encrypted beyond anything I've seen. Maya frowned. Put it through to my station. The message was brief. Operation Phoenix initiated. Fall back to designated coordinates immediately. Authentication code. Prometheus Rising. Maya's heart nearly stopped. Operation Phoenix was supposed to be a myth. A desperate contingency plan that most officers dismissed as fantasy. But the authentication code was valid. Helm, set course for these coordinates, she ordered, transmitting the location embedded in the message. Maximum burn. But Captain, her XO protested. That's away from Earth. We can't just. That's an order. Commander, Maya cut him off. Priority Alpha. The Defiant broke formation, accelerating away from Jupiter's orbit. Several other ships followed suit, those who had received the same mysterious orders. The Craxians, seemingly puzzled by this apparent retreat, dispatched a small hunting group to pursue them. As they reached the designated coordinates, a seemingly empty region of space between Jupiter and Saturn, Maya found herself holding her breath. Had it all been for nothing? Then space itself seemed to tear open. It began as a shimmer, like heat rising from desert sand. Then the distortion grew, expanding into a massive vortex of swirling energy. From within this impossible breach emerged something that made Maya's jaw drop. A ship, but calling it merely a ship was like calling the sun a light. It was colossal, dwarfing even the largest Craxian dreadnought. Its hull was midnight black, absorbing light rather than reflecting it, making its true dimensions difficult to comprehend. The only visible features were lines of soft blue energy that pulsed along its surface like digital veins. What the hell is that? Breathed Commander Adams, Maya's XO. That, Maya replied, barely able to believe it herself, is the Phoenix. Rumors had circulated for years about a classified project hidden in the outer reaches of the solar system. A massive undertaking drawing resources and scientific minds from all over Earth's territories. But most believed it to be propaganda, a morale-boosting fiction. The Phoenix moved with impossible grace for something of its size, positioning itself between the approaching Craxian pursuers and the retreating human fleet. For a moment, nothing happened. The Craxian vessels paused, as if assessing this new threat. "Captain," said Kovic, "we're being hailed by the Phoenix." The face that appeared on Maya's screen was familiar. Admiral Helena Reyes, who had supposedly been killed in the Battle of Titan 3 years earlier. "Captain Chen," the admiral said, her expression grim but determined, "get your people clear. Phase 1 is about to begin." Before Maya could respond, the Phoenix's surface changed. The blue energy lines brightened, and sections of the hull shifted, revealing what could only be weapon ports. Dozens, perhaps hundreds of them. The Craxian vessels, finally recognizing the threat, opened fire. Their energy weapons, devastating against normal human ships, splashed harmlessly against the Phoenix's hull. The Phoenix's response was swift and terrible. Beams of concentrated light erupted from its forward section, cutting through the first Craxian cruiser as if it were made of paper. The alien vessel didn't explode. It simply ceased to exist, disintegrated into its component atoms. "All ships, maintain your distance." Admiral Rice's voice came through the fleet-wide channel. "Stay beyond the phase boundary." The remaining Craxian pursuers attempted to scatter, but the Phoenix was somehow faster, more maneuverable than should have been physically possible. Within minutes, all 8 pursuing vessels had been reduced to cosmic dust. An eerie silence fell over the command deck of the Defiant. Maya realized she'd been holding her breath. "What just happened?" Commander Adams whispered. "How did we build something like that?" Maya had no answer, but as she watched the Phoenix turn its attention toward the main Craxian fleet still advancing on Earth, she felt something she hadn't experienced in years. Hope. "Captain," Kovic called out, "Admiral Rice is requesting all ship commanders join a secure briefing. They're saying the Phoenix isn't alone." Maya Chen felt a chill run down her spine. The war had just changed, and perhaps humanity's extinction wasn't so inevitable after all. In the void of space, the Phoenix accelerated toward Jupiter, its massive form moving with the agility of a fighter craft. Behind it, 5 more tiers in space began to form, each one heralding the arrival of another impossible vessel. On the main Craxian command ship, Supreme Overseer Vextal watched the sensor readings with mounting alarm. For the first time in 7 centuries of conquest, the collective felt something unfamiliar: fear, the reckoning. Admiral Helena Reyes stood on the command deck of the Phoenix, watching as the 5 sister ships emerged fully from their dimensional pockets. The Chimera, the Hydra, the Griffin, the Leviathan, and the Cerberus. Together with the Phoenix, they'd formed humanity's last hope. 20 years of secret development, drawing on technologies reverse-engineered from crashed Craxian scouts long before the invasion began. "All vessels report ready, Admiral," announced Commander Jackson, her executive officer. "Dimensional drives stable, weapons systems online." Helena nodded, her expression grim. The Phoenix-class vessels represented a technological leap beyond anything humanity had publicly deployed, not just an advancement, but a revolution. Gravitic propulsion, quantum phase shielding, and most critically, the dimensional fold drive that allowed the ships to exist partially out of normal spacetime, making them nearly invulnerable to conventional weapons. "Open a channel to all human vessels," Helena ordered. When the communication was established, she spoke clearly, her voice reaching every surviving ship in the fleet. "This is Admiral Helena Reyes. Many of you believe me dead. That deception was necessary to complete Project Phoenix without Craxian knowledge. Today, humanity unveils its answer to the Craxian threat." She paused, allowing her words to sink in. "The vessels you see before you represent not just our resistance, but our refusal to be extinguished. For 7 years, we have fought conventionally against an unconventional enemy. No more. Today, we fight fire with fire." As if to punctuate her words, the main Craxian fleet altered course, accelerating toward the Phoenix squadron rather than continuing toward Earth. The alien collective had recognized the greater threat. "All Phoenix-class vessels, execute Maneuver Typhon," Helena commanded. "Conventional fleet elements, withdraw to safety perimeter and prepare to engage stragglers." The 6 massive warships moved in perfect synchronization, their hulls rippling as they partially phased out of normal space. To observers, they appeared to blur at the edges, as if reality itself couldn't quite contain them. The Craxian fleet opened fire, hundreds of energy weapons discharging simultaneously. The barrage was enough to have vaporized an entire conventional battle group, but where the beams should have struck the Phoenix Squadron, they passed through empty space. "Phase shift successful," reported the tactical officer. "We're operating at 15% temporal displacement." Helena nodded. The ships existed partially in a different dimensional phase, making them effectively intangible to normal matter and energy. The technology was dangerous. Prolonged phase shifting could cause molecular instability in both the ships and their crews, but it gave them a crucial advantage. "Weapons free," Helena ordered. "Target their command vessels." The Phoenix Squadron responded, their specialized quantum disruptors targeting the crystalline structures of the Craxian ships. Unlike conventional weapons, these attacked the very atomic bonds holding the alien vessels together. The first volley struck home. 3 Craxian dreadnoughts simply collapsed in on themselves, their perfect crystalline structures shattering like glass. The remaining alien ships scattered, attempting to regroup. Aboard the Defiant, Captain Chen watched in awe as the battle unfolded. The Phoenix vessels moved with impossible coordination, as if they were extensions of a single mind rather than 6 separate ships. How are they doing that? Commander Adams wondered aloud. Their reaction times are beyond human capability. Maya had a suspicion, one confirmed when Admiral Rice sent updated orders to the conventional fleet. "Neural interface technology," she murmured. The rumors were true. The Phoenix crews weren't just piloting their ships, they were integrated with them, their thoughts directly controlling the vessel's systems at speeds no manual operation could match. The Craxians, however, were adapting. Their ships began to pulse with a new energy signature, attempting to match the phase frequency of the human vessels. "Admiral," Jackson warned, "they're attempting to synchronize with our phase shift. Probability of successful countermeasure, 70% within the next 6 minutes." Helena had anticipated this. The Craxians' hive mind allowed them to analyze and counter new technologies with frightening speed. "Execute Operation Hydra," she commanded. "All vessels, prepare for full dimensional shift." This was the true secret of Project Phoenix, not just the ability to partially phase out of normal space, but to fully transition into an adjacent dimension, one the Craxians couldn't access. Supreme Overseer Vextal watched in growing horror as the human vessels began to emit a peculiar radiation. The collective sensors couldn't categorize it. The energy signatures defied known physics. "Impossible," Vextal transmitted to the collective consciousness. "They cannot have mastered dimensional manipulation. Their species is too young." But the evidence was irrefutable. The 6 human vessels were creating dimensional ruptures, not the crude tears used for their primitive faster-than-light travel, but controlled manipulations of spacetime itself. For the first time in its 100,000-year history, the Craxian collective faced an enemy with technology it couldn't immediately comprehend or counter. "Withdraw," Vextal finally commanded. "All vessels, disengage and regroup at the contingency coordinates." But it was too late. The Phoenix Squadron had fully executed their dimensional shift, disappearing completely from normal space, only to reappear moments later directly amidst the Craxian fleet. Now phase shifted to a different frequency than the Craxians had been trying to match. The human vessels were once again intangible to the alien weapons. But their own weapons, calibrated to this specific phase, cut through the crystalline ships with devastating efficiency. "This is Admiral Rice to all Craxian vessels," Helena's voice transmitted on all frequencies. "Your fleet is lost. Your technology is now mashed. Withdraw from the Sol system immediately, or face complete annihilation." For several tense moments, there was no response. Then, slowly, the remaining Craxian vessels began to retreat, acceleration gradually increasing as they moved away from Jupiter. On the Defiance Bridge, Maya Chen couldn't believe what she was seeing. "They're actually retreating," she whispered. "Captain," Kovic called out, Incoming transmission from Admiral Reyes. For your eyes only. The message was brief. The Craxians will return with countermeasures. This isn't victory, it's breathing room. Prepare your crew. The real war begins now. Maya looked out at the massive vessels that had changed the course of the war in mere hours. Humanity had earned a reprieve, but at what cost? What other secrets had been kept in the name of survival? As if sensing her thoughts, a final line appeared in Admiral Rice's message. Sometimes to preserve humanity, we must risk our humanity. I hope history judges us kindly. The Phoenix Squadron regrouped, their massive forms once again fully present in normal space. They had saved Earth, for now. But the expression on Helena Reyes's face as she stared out at the stars was not one of triumph, but of grim determination. The Craxians would return. And next time, they would be ready for humanity's new weapons. It was a race now. A technological arms race between a young, desperate species and an ancient, implacable collective. But for the first time since the war began, it was a race humanity had a chance of winning. In the silent void between Jupiter and Saturn, the battlefield that had witnessed humanity's first true victory against the alien invaders, the 6 Phoenix-class vessels held position, sentinels guarding not just Earth, but the future of the human race itself. The stars held their breath, waiting to see what would come next.